Hello my beautiful people, welcome to the weekly general overview for everybody across the world. Here with me, Raphael from Reydiant Reality. It is an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, share, and if you should so choose and it resonates, hit that subscribe button. If you are already a continued subby, you know I love you. With that said, if you would like to book a personal tarot reading with me, you can do so on the website address below. And before we start, as always, I would like to bless all of my decks of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity and abundance. And I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise, and they help you, or should I say us, all of us, on our paths to our highest vibrational good. And that's all of us, all of you guys watching, me, everybody that I know, but the whole world in general. With that said, as you can see that I'm doing a weekly general overview, I also do a monthly general overview, and you will only get that if you are on my mailing list. You can find the link to sign up to that in the description box below. And for those of you that have asked and offered, you can donate to the channel on the my brain's just gone blank. You can donate to the channel on the PayPal link below. So let's have a look at the destiny card for the week ahead. And this week we get the moon, right? So this week, everybody, all of us, are going to be deeply reflective. Now, the destiny card kind of, you know, it's the overriding energy for the week, right? And because the moon is cyclic, it always sees us looking at the past, something looking really familiar. Interestingly enough, today I saw something about a war that's threatening to break out in some part of the world. And I just thought, for fuck's sake, what, here we go again, right? You may very well find that that's happening. So on the wider world stage, there are things that look very, very similar to how they've been before. The world and all of its people are different. So the outcome of whatever's happening, no matter how similar it looks, and there will be moments, so for the macrocosm on the wider world stage, there will be a lot of things that kind of look very similar as to what's going on, you know, as to what we've experienced before, what we've seen before. The difference is this time, and especially this week, some of this stuff is going to come to light, right? So there'll be things where people are not necessarily telling the truth, things where people or information has been withheld that will start to come out, so that the choices that are made going forward are more in integrity, and ultimately there's a lot more transparency. So no matter how much on the wider world stage we see things and we think, oh fuck, here we go again, the chances are that there will be things that come out that kind of are counter to that, where people say, actually, you know what, yes, it looks like a similar situation, but we're going to react and respond differently to how we did before. The same happens on the microcosmic level. You could be having people come back from the past. You could have situations that come up this week where you're like, yeah, I kind of recognize the signposts. This happened once before. Don't freak out. Do not have a moment. Do not get into a tiswas. This is not the time to do that. Look at it and observe it, but remember the fundamental truth. You yourself are different. You yourself are wiser, more seasoned, more experienced. Got a couple of greys there myself. Than you were the first time this experience happened to you. So knowing that, you can catch yourself in a reaction, pull it back and say, no, you know what, I'm going to choose to respond to this with all of the knowledge, the information and the experience that I have now. And therefore, that is how you present your most woke self, so to speak, right? So the moon card is cyclic. It does bring things up from the past, but this week, it's taking off those rose-tinted glasses. You know what it'll be? It'll be the people that react and don't stop to think, but I'm different this time, will then kind of get some information and they'll think, oh shit, if I'd have just held back, I would have learnt that, right? If you hold yourself back, you will gain some sort of insight or knowledge that kind of either softens the blow of whatever or whoever it is that comes back into your life, and it will give you cause for pause, and it will give you cause to course correct, right? You'll be able to course correct before you even set off on a certain path, right? So if you see yourself getting triggered or pulled back or pushed or prodded over something, ask yourself, how am I different in this situation? The situation or that person might be the same, but I am different. I have changed. I have evolved. That's the place, the point of reference that you need to come from this week. So let's have a look at the direction. How does this shape up? What does it relate to? What is the context? And this week we get the Hanged Man. Take a moment, take a beat, take a moment to pull it back. Don't get all up in your feelings, right? Detach yourself from it. The Hanged Man is about waiting, patience, stillness. It's a card of spirituality. It's a card of going inward as opposed to going outward. And it asks you, in the situations that arise, especially ones that come back from the past or whatever, do nothing this week. Just observe. Consider it an exercise in detachment, right? The more you can detach from it and kind of just say, you know what, don't ignore it, because then you're still not getting the lesson. Don't ignore it. Acknowledge it, observe it, but do not interact with it, right? Especially if it's a person coming back into your life. Just, hi, nice to see you. That's as far as it goes, right? Don't give them anything. Don't offer them anything. If something is offered to you, no thank you. Thank you, but no thank you. You can be polite. And as one of my old friends used to say, you can say no, but you have to say no thank you, right? And providing you stay in that space, ain't nothing or nobody gonna be able to touch you, right? That's where you need to come from, and that is your point of reference this week. On the wider world stage with the Hanged Man, it kind of feels, I gotta be honest with you, I feel like those at the top, whether you call them the powers that be, the governments, whatever, they're going to try to push or sway the public vote this week on several different things, right? They're going to try to push our emotional buttons, but the public themselves are in very, very different places than they were before. And I kind of feel like no matter what they throw at us this week, we're not going to bite. Do you know what I mean? Like the collective is just going to be like, you know what? I can't be bothered with the bullshit. Thank you, but no thank you, right? It's like they're hoping to get a certain swell of feeling, and they're just not going to get it this week, right? And the same will be on a personal level on the ground. So stay woke, stay connected to your soul. If you have to, steal away and meditate for a little bit. I mean, straight away, the moon card represents Pisces. The Hanged Man represents Neptune, right? So there's a lot of Piscean energy around again this week. So if people try to pull the wool over your eyes, go within to where the inner senses start to take over. Because if you do that and you stay in that place of detachment, you're going to be cool. You're going to be so cool that it will be infuriating to people. They'll be looking at you and it's kind of like, usually that would have worked. That would have pushed their button. That would have made them feel or act or behave or in this way. Well, you know what? You're still in that place. You still in that place, not me. I've evolved, I've changed, I've moved on. This isn't about being holier than thou, because then you're still falling into the trap. It's just about saying I have changed, I have evolved, and I've moved on. That is not important to me anymore. The way that or you or they or whatever would have affected me before is not how it will affect me now, because I have moved past that place. If you ain't different to how you used to be a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, there's a problem. Fuck, if you ain't different to how you were last week, there's a problem, right? Serious. And you know what? I'm getting very, lately I've been a lot more stick than play. And I think the reason being is because I'm like that with myself. You know, I'm with other people, I'm a lot more caring, a lot more nurturing. That's where my Cancer moon takes over. But when it comes to self, I am ruthless. I edit myself and my life ruthlessly. I do not fuck around. Like if I'm being a numpty or whatever, I'll have my moment, I'll sulk, I'll get up in my feels and all the rest of it. But once I've had that moment, that's when I say to myself, fix it, switch it up, get your shit together and get on with it, right? I'm quite harsh with myself that way. And not because I'm self-deprecating or I want to hurt myself or punish myself. No, I love myself enough to parent myself in that way, right? And I feel like it's really, really important. I digress. Anyway, let's go into the insight for the week. And the insight for... No, that's the wrong deck. The insight to the week... Sorry, guys. So that I got so into... I can't even remember what I was saying now. I got so into what I was talking about there. Sorry. The insight for the week. is the King of Swords, right? In your mind is where you need to, that's where because the King of Swords represents your intellect, it represents your mind, it represents being in that place, coming from that cool, rational, logical, detached place of correct thought, right? And so as an air sign male, this could be an Aquarius, a Gemini, or a Libra. Hi. As many of you know, I'm an Aquarius, right? So the insight for the week is basically saying, nobody can give you, like in here, it doesn't matter what people do to you on the external, you rule your thoughts. And providing you can rule your emotions as well, you don't allow people to fuck with your mental peace, right? So whatever happens out in the world, like I said, I kind of feel like somebody's going to step in for a lot of this stuff and say, you know what, we the people are not prepared to go down those routes again. So that's the wider world stage. I feel like our voice, our collective voice is going to count for a lot more than it ever has before. And I feel like on a personal level, this is where we're looking at things and saying, yeah, shit, that person, that situation, that time in my life took a lot of my mental peace. Whereas this time, I ain't allowing it to. This time I'm not in that space. And the King of Swords suggests you will be able to outwit and outthink anyone or anything that tries to be of your detriment this week. So allow yourself to be that, to feel that, to know that within yourself, right? Going to be a very interesting month. I mean, it's all water and all air. And air and water, I mean, they're different elements, right? They're different understandings. But if you can allow your emotions and your thoughts to meet in harmony of protection for self, right? So you allow your heart space and your mind space to come together, to work together in order to create a protective bubble around you, right? When something starts to poke at your feelings, switch it up and go into your mind and say, right, how would I have behaved or reacted to this before? Okay, yeah, that's why it seems very similar to X, Y, and Z, right? Whereas if something makes you think a certain way, then check in with your feelings and say, do I actually buy that? Or is it just an old thought pattern or a thought form? Okay, no, I don't believe that anymore. Cool, I'm good. Either way, people, this week you are blessed, providing you can stay conscious and providing you go inward instead of outward. Don't react, choose to respond. I wish you an abundance of all of that good stuff. Have a fantastic week. Let me know how it shapes up for you. This is going to be a good one. I actually feel it. No matter what happens out there, we in here are going to be good. All right, take care and I love you much.